light and good there.
Aziz light. Little Fifth Element joke there for you.
I quote that one all the time. All the effing time, dude. Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about games, entertainment, anime, life, a little bit of everything in between. With me is the gentleman who always celebrates St. Patrick's Day way early and always gets his shamrock shakes before Valentine's Day. Nick, how you doing, Nick?
Yeah, it's funny because Saint Patrick and Saint Valentine were arch enemies, and that's what the Valentine's Day massacre is about. Is because Saint Patrick and his gang had attacked Saint Valentine's gang on February 14th. So, to honor the victor of that massacre, I always celebrate St. Patrick's Day on February 13th.
Well, that would make sense if you look at a deck of cards and how the King of Hearts is a suicide king. So, I mean, just can't compete with the King of Clubs there. So, all right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, how have you been? It's been a couple weeks now, so
Good.
things going all right for you?
Good. I'm good. Things are good. I think it was like 85 degrees here today. What was the weather like in Illinois? Probably pretty warm.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Though it's literally dropping as we speak. It's only like maybe 30 something now. We have some flurries that were happening for this evening, so we finally got like our grass is now covered in snow, but the driveway is not. So it'll stick around for like a day, and then the weather should be bouncing back. But it's just volleying between I don't know 50s and 20s like
Okay.
every other day.
Well.
So evenings you'll usually drop, and then days I don't know, light jacket weather for us. For you, like double jacket. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're doing all right over here as far as all things can be considered.
Yeah. So I've
Yeah,
been outside doing stuff and running around,
I
which has
hate you.
been nice. Uh, but yeah, probably have another cold snap or a cool snap, I guess, and then be in for the long summer haul down here. But yeah, I've been doing stuff, watching shows and playing games, some games.
All right. Well,
So
let's
yeah.
get to news then. I mean, you got some decent stuff for us, and then we can get
There's a
to what you've
bunch
been
of
playing.
news. There's a bunch of news this week. The past 2 weeks. It's been quite a bit, which is sort of weird for February, but here we are. So first thing up, Switch 2. Nintendo Switch 2 is semi-confirmed for Q1 of 2025. Or at least it's not going to come out before then. This is coming from a stock report or a earnings report or whatever that Nintendo gave. It actually caused their stock to fall a little bit because a lot of people were thinking it was going to come out this year. I think a lot of the reason people were thinking that is because a lot of publishers and game developers were I think that they're kind of like, yeah, we've sort of been told to have games ready, you know, by this time. And so I think that's probably where some of the speculation was coming from, if I had to guess. But anyway, so Switch 2, maybe Q1 25. I don't like. Did the Switch 1 come out in like March of 17? Was it an off kind of a non-holiday release?
Yeah, it was in March of
Okay.
that would have been 2017.
Yeah. So like I remembered it was 2017, but anyway. So I don't know, Joe. Is this good news or bad news?
I think Honestly, for me, it doesn't make a difference. But as a whole, I think they really should try to get it out sooner the better. Just because, as far as third party games are concerned, if you want to still be able to play major titles, you're going to need more power under the hood. Hopefully, if they're pushing it back, they can still make some better revisions. But if there's so much rumor and speculation right now. I mean, a lot of people are upset because the specs are supposed to be an LED, not an OLED, which to me makes perfect sense because it can come out cheaper as an LED. Plus,
They can
after a year or so,
they
then
can
you can
sell the
upgrade
OLED.
with the OLED model, and then you can make people rebuy it all over again.
Yeah.
It's a scummy move, but it's a brilliant one financially. Just I personally am not a fan of it, so
Nintendo lovers get
yeah,
what they deserve. That's what
yeah.
their fandom. And I include
They'll get one
myself
or two
in.
basic colors, and then they'll just have to suck on that for like a year and a half before they come out with whole new color variants. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but no, I think it coming out in 2025, first quarter makes sense. Probably end of first quarter. Uh, you probably n- ideally for Nintendo, you'd want to make it no later than like early May, because as a
Golden Week.
if you're looking at Japan, you want it before Golden Week, because that's a big time. Usually you have the uh, children's holiday and stuff like that, so you got that little extra marketing push. And then for the West, you got summer break and stuff like that, so you most definitely want to get it before then. If they follow the previous year or the previous generation, then they come out in March and they do just fine. Which it actually works pretty well because you sell out, you string everyone along, and you create that fervor. And then when summer does finally hit, and then you get everything, like you get some more supplies in, then everyone will just buy it up as quickly as they can, because that's kind of what I did. I just happened to find one by accident when it was really hard to find, and I bought it. But that's also because I was stranded in the U.S. and I didn't have anything with me at the time, like for a surprise extended stay. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and buy this. It's here. I can't find, no one can find it anywhere. So sure. And plus all
Yeah,
my consoles were
I,
back
I'd really
overseas.
think I prefer a March release because it gives it the best chance to clear up supply issues. I'm sure that they're still going to happen, and they're still going to be in short supply as of Christmas 25. But I think that's probably the best chance that we have here of getting it in our own hands. Um, some people in the article I was reading were suggesting that the reason why they're pushing it back, or they're intend to release it at that point, or however you want to think about it, is because Nintendo wants better or more first party games at launch, which was kind of a criticism of the Switch, because when that came out, I mean, you did have Breath of the Wild, which was a double system release, um, and you had Mario plus Rabbids, but and then I guess you had Splatoon not too far behind that.
Mario plus Rabbids wasn't launched, but it did come out by I think May of that
Okay,
time. But they did also have Mario Kart right out the gate. Granted, it was the Wii U version, but still, not too many people played it. They actually had I thought they really had a really stellar launch for first party titles. Like the first year or so was pretty solid. Um, the only problem is once they kind of did that, they just kind of went dormant for a while.
well, see, like at the
And
time, I remember looking at it and being like, I mean, this is sort of the same with all new systems. But looking at the console, looking at the games available, and me personally being like, yeah, that's not really enough for me to spring for that just yet. Um, I mean, I think it sold definitely well enough. But I seem to remember some criticism about that. Maybe that's what they want to avoid, or maybe they're fighting just to get back to that point to where they are at on par with a Switch One, software quality release. But I was thinking about that, and I was kind of wondering, okay, so then what might they be going for, um, as far as games that would be released alongside? a Nintendo Switch 2. And there's a couple things that I thought of, but I was wondering if you had anything that came to mind that might pop up as a Switch 2 release.
Well, I mean, there's the consistent rumor of a new Metroid coming out.
Yeah, that was
Um,
my first one
so
too.
a full-fledged Metroid game. You
Metroid
have
Prime 4.
Yeah, and or whatever they might rebrand it at the time. I think they want the Prime name in it, but not maybe the number sequence.
Hmm.
I think that might be a smarter route because if you put in 4, that makes people feel the need to like they're missing out on whatever the
1 through
previous
3, yeah.
installments were, and that kind of shies a little people away from it. They're like, eh. So, yeah, there's by that time, uh, there I don't think there'll be anything on the Zelda front. They'll probably be, they can easily have by pushing it back a little further, they can have a better Mario installment of some sort. I mean, they're branching out with the Mario franchise. They might do a Luigi game or something like that. I can see them doing because they're doing the Princess Peach this year. So I can see them coming out with a new thing on that front. Possibly a full-fledged new it's one of those tough things to do, but a new Mario Kart game because the last one is so filled. Like they added all these extra carts to it. It's kind of like the Smash Brothers dilemma, where you add more characters, more courses, more everything, and it becomes like the the ultimate package. And so, how are you going to reiterate on that? So that's kind of it's like, well, when you do something so well, and then you're telling everyone, yeah, drop that, and like because if you re-release the same thing on the new system, yes, it'll look better, run better, all that stuff. If you can, tell people they can carry their information over, that would be nice. But at the same time, you won't make people happy, and then also, but you can't make everyone happy anyways because you're like, here's the new thing, everything you worked so hard on or everything you loved about the old one, just throw it away. Here's the new one. Like that's how it works. That's how a sequel works, But when it comes to those type of games, but people, I'm not sure how willing they are. Um, what about you though? What key titles are you looking at for coming out for the new Switch?
So I was kind of looking into it a little bit and just kind of looking at when I mean, obviously we can't guess at any new IP. There might be one thing that might be like a new IP. That's actually just something I just thought of. So yeah, there might be a new IP that they might try, sort of like Splatoon. But I'm not too confident in that. I was looking at some of the bigger releases for the Switch and how long ago those happened. Mario Odyssey actually came out in 2017, which I was really surprised that it's that old. So that actually came out, I guess, in the same year as the Switch. So that's kind of a little bit of a hole in my strength of release argument. But I feel like it was later. So since that's like the last proper true flagship Mario game that's come out, that'll be 2025. I feel like it's probably they will probably try to launch with a Mario game because Zelda will be it'll be too soon for a new Zelda, or at least a new like flagship Zelda game. So most likely a new Mario, probably a Metroid Prime type game. But I would think actually Metroid Prime would be released maybe a few months after like the Switch coming out because it's just never sold that well. Like Metroid's has never been a big seller in
See,
Japan.
my thing is, I think I can see them doing they coming out day and day, but also making it for the Switch, and Switch 2, because that way they'd get the largest install base on it.
I think that
Because not everyone's going to be able to, upgrade just pretty much like they did with Zelda, right? When Breath of the Wild came out, it was on the Wii U and the Switch.
mm,
They'll probably do that with the Metroid because they've been developing this Metroid allegedly forever. So it is essentially a Switch One game, and then they'll
maybe yeah.
do whatever they need to make it a Switch Two game.
See, I mean, I think that if the Switch or that if the Metroid Prime comes out for both Switch 2 and Switch 1, I think it'll be less likely to be really good. I think that if a Metroid Prime is Nintendo putting their best foot forward on it, then it will come out a little bit later, either alone, and there won't be another big flagship game released alongside it. Like it won't be overshadowed by like a Mario, or it'll be released later. That's just kind of that's the way that I would play it. If it is released alongside, I would think it'd be kind of smaller. But besides those two, possibly a new Bayonetta, because Bayonetta 3 was released in 2022. So if they got right to work on a Bayonetta 4, then they would probably be pretty close to ready for a Switch 2 release. And that'd be a nice, probably smaller game for them to release at launch or soon after. Besides that, two more new Bravely Default. Bravely Default 2 was released in 2021. So that's pretty ripe for a 2025 release. And then lastly, since it's a little bit more complicated, a new Fire Emblem game. But see, I'm not super clear on what Fire Emblem stuff has been released. From what I understand, it's only been the Three Houses that's like the true proper flagship Fire Emblem game. That was like the last like big Fire Emblem release. There's been others, but I don't think they're moving the needle. But I can't remember if there's another one that was announced that's supposed to come out that's a bigger, title. So anyway.
So I think the one thing you're missing is like they'll probably have at the time frame you have a higher chance of having a new Pokemon game coming out around that time too.
I was thinking Pokemon
Because by
maybe,
that
but yeah.
because it's going to be a bit, if it's 2025, that means it'd have been a couple years since Scarlet and Violet, and after that having not run as well. Also, you have the what was it, the Arceus, that stand up the separate series, and if they make a new one of those, that's been underdeveloped even longer, so they can have that be the first one out of the gate, and then wait for the quote unquote main traditional line entry into the series come out a little bit later even. But once again, I feel like if you do those, you still want them to be on Switch and Switch 2, because there's not enough people going to be, there's not enough Switches out there. And, that's why I said Prime, Metroid game will like almost undoubtedly be on both if it comes out or like around that same time, because you need to get that install base. They still came out with Legend of Zelda on the Wii U. Granted, the Wii U was not that great on, blah, 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 but they've been doing that with the Zelda forever too. It was on GameCube and the Wii, stuff like that.
Oh
So
yeah, I do remember that.
to do to do multi generations for one game isn't unheard of for them when it comes to something like that. So I can see them doing that again. And then you have the easy upgrades. You can if they want to start taking it, leveraging ports, they can start porting. If they don't have new Legend of Zelda, they can do Breath of the Wild 1 and 2 and then whatever Kingdom Pack or something like that. I can see them doing that. But yeah, it's one of those things that's too far out to speculate. But I honestly think 2025 is a good time. I mean, you'll still have a handful of years before the current PlayStation and Xbox finish their because those in theory will be end of life, or the new systems won't come out till 2028 2029. But as these generations are getting longer, it could even be pushed back even further. But also in theory 2025 would be a safe bet to start thinking of the mid-gen refreshes, right? You can get whatever the pros, PlayStation Pro or the new Xbox Series, whatever. That would be a smart time around that, the end of 2025, to upgrade those consoles. That's once again, that's all speculation. So
Yeah,
all right,
I
what else you
mean,
got?
so you're kind of talking about some other stuff that we have in the news that I'll kind of jump to. So, yeah, so first of all, this was a couple days ago, but Sony failed to hit a 25 million units sold mark that they had for the PlayStation 5. That caused the price stock to dip pretty significantly. so it seemed to me like they would have needed to have a pretty gangbuster Christmas, and so I think they probably knew they were going to have a hard time hitting that because 4 million units is quite a bit. But so that was kind of news for like a little while. That was kind of a sort of bigger news a little while ago. But then a little bit after that, CEO of Kantan Games said that he thought that the PS5 Pro is likely to launch this year in 2024. And he was kind of, I read the article and kind of what he said, and he's basically saying that Sony is not making enough profit right now, and they need to fix that. So basically, kind of a longer story is that they're making more revenue, but it costs more to make that money. So that cuts into their profits. So basically, it seems to me like the PS5 is not the new hotness anymore. It's not selling as well. I think you were telling me a little bit earlier that they're basically kind of considering it, halfway through its life cycle. And I think that's pretty fair. And so what they need to do now, I think that they need to release something new like the Pro in order to increase their profits again. So they're going to make this machine and sell it because they can reorder how much it costs and how much it costs to make, and make better profits off of those things. So I'm pretty sure that's kind of where he was getting that. I think you and I both agree that 2024 release of a PS5 Pro sounds ridiculous. I don't think that's going to happen. We would have a lot. I think we'd have a lot more scuttlebutt. We'd have a lot more rumors. We'd have a lot more there's a lot of wind up to a release like that, and we just haven't had
Unless if
enough.
they somehow pull the shadow drop of, like here's the press conference, here's the Gamescom, like showcase, and it's out like next month, like some sort of surprise thing, which that never happens, not since was it Saturn or whatever, or was it Dreamcast? Yeah. So I mean, but you don't do that because you need people to get primed,
Need
you
hype.
need to do the reservations, and it's one of those things that it's too soon, in my opinion, unless if they're already planning to release it this year. They can't just ramp it up. The other problem is uh, usually by this time in a normal with other generations, they would have done a price drop. They haven't done price drops, not per their traditional price drop
And they're not going
situations
to.
because so it's already been proven that the parts traditionally you get the parts would get cheaper by now, and therefore you can then make the consoles cheaper, and therefore you get a new flux of people buying into the ecosystem. Parts are not getting cheaper. That's the problem. And I mean, that was pretty much decided by Xbox at the beginning. Like they already said that at the beginning of the this generation, saying, "Hey, we couldn't make like it's not going to be possible to make these things cheaper. That's why we made the S." Like the S, like they kind of foresaw it and said, "Hey, we're just going to give you the option of a cheaper model." But it's like just what the way the market is looking, it's just not going to happen. And so unless if they do something, I don't think if they come out with a Pro for PlayStation, they're going to have to more than likely come out with something more expensive than what it is now. It's not just going to like take place of the
Oh yeah.
current price point, and then they're just going to drop it like $100 or something. Like I really don't see them doing that because the companies don't like to eat the price of units like they used to anymore. I think last time that was really done was Xbox 360, and that was because they had to jump the gun. Um, and even
No,
then, that was still an ugly
they
situation.
really ate crap on that one. Traditionally, they break even on consoles, at least more recently, and I think that's probably going to continue. But I think they just can't even break even unless they pretty much raise the price. You know?
And yeah, so that therefore I don't see them. It's like if you look at the current market, like it just doesn't look like they're going to be coming out with like maybe at the very like even they didn't even come out with the slim version yet, right? They came out with a slightly smaller version, um, but nowhere near as drastic as the other previous slim versions of systems have been in the past.
Yeah,
So I mean, at best, in 2024, you might get another shell revision. Like
I don't
it looks
even.
different,
I wouldn't
you know,
even. That would just be
but
that'd just be a waste of time to me. I mean, from my perspective as a consumer, and kind of armchair quarterbacking, as a Sony CEO, I would be like, that's just gonna annoy
yeah.
people.
I'm just thinking that, but if we're, the fan base would be lucky to have a increase in hard drive capacity with maintaining the same price. That is about the best we can hope for in 2024 as far as the system is. So up it from to 2 terabytes and keep it the same price. That would be the best you can do. You can hope for. But honestly, it's one of those
No,
things that you
no.
know.
Like, so what is the PS5 at right now? 600 still. So
Uh, no, it's they're supposed to be upping it to 1 terabyte. It's like 700 or something currently, right? So, um, but
700.
yeah, it's well, whatever base model is, then after OS. So yeah, I think you might be right about the six something.
I mean, I bought mine for 6. I know they've been
Oh, you mean
making.
price? I'm talking about internal, the hard drive.
Well, I'm going to talk about that too, but like right now the price of the PS5 is 600. I think a 650 price point would probably be where they'd go for a Pro. 700 sounds insane to me, but so maybe like a 650. And I don't think we're getting a 2 terabyte. I don't think we're getting that at all. I think maybe 1 terabyte. Because is it standard like 1 terabyte, or is there a 500 terabyte model or 500 gigabyte model too? Because I
Um,
because I got the
so
terabyte.
it's never a full terabyte.
Well,
So that yeah, it was never it was like it's
850 or
I'm
something like
trying to
that.
remember. Yeah, it's I forget what it is now, but it was never touted as 1 terabyte per se. It was
Well,
always less, and
the best
so
the best thing they could do, I guess, about that is make an easier way to install NVMe, um, hard drives. Uh, because right now it's kind of, I mean, I haven't done it, but the reason I haven't done it partially, besides money and buying one of those, is the process seemed irritating and risky. Um,
wait. Sorry, say that again. So
the
you're
installing the extra hard drive on a
yeah,
PS5.
it couldn't be easier. It
No,
could
it
not be
could be
easier.
because the Xbox Series X is like the easiest. That's like
But
the one that
it's
makes
also
most
way
sense.
more expensive. That's the thing is the convenience factor of using that memory card unit. It is way more expensive, especially since thanks to the pandemic. This last year has been really good on NVMe drives being like storage. Storage has been never been cheaper because there was an influx of overstock,
Right.
and so yeah, it's it is really simple. Push two sides, slide it off, unscrew, slide it in, screw it back. I mean, just put the cover back on. It is very simple to do uh, the the extra hard drive, and it's worth it, hands down. I mean, that's what I did
So
when I
yeah,
got a
but like
chance
the
to.
Xbox Series X, I remember hearing back when all of this was going on that it was significant. That like
It's a
rep-
memory card. It is
reporters
literally just a memory card
were.
you plop in,
Yeah.
and it's way more expensive. It is
Okay.
crazy expensive because it's a proprietary thing.
Okay.
Um, and
Whereas
so
Sony's is
it's
not.
literally no, it's literally the same NVMe. If you don't, or for those who don't know, NVMe or the M.2 is looks like a stick of gum.
Yeah.
So it is literally a thin, long hard drive. Some come in different lengths, and that's all you do. It's like same thing. You install it onto your motherboard. or you could do it like a PCI adapter card and then put it in. But anyways, that's all you need,
Hey,
and that's what it takes. You just needed to make sure that it's the right speed,
yeah,
because if you use
I guess
an older one that's doesn't that's not the right speed, obviously it's not going to work. So you have to get a
yeah.
certain one. But
I,
all the websites will automatically tout PS5 compatible, if it is,
okay.
and if it's not, it won't.
I guess
So,
they learned
uh,
from the Vita not to make proprietary memory cards anymore,
oh man, Vita, PSP, uh,
which they don't talk about
well, it's
anymore.
it's always had proprietary since the PS1. I mean,
Oh my
so
gosh. If I ever get to be if I ever get to be like a reporter at like some sort of a PlayStation event or whatever, I'm just going to ask if they're going to make a Vita too. Just every
well,
time.
I mean,
Two questions.
I know you don't have it on. I know you.
First question's like normal.
I,
Second question, are you going to
yeah.
make a Vita too?
So I know you don't have the you didn't have it on the news here, but just a quick offshoot on that. So the PlayStation Portal, the new the screen with the controller attached to it,
I hate that thing so
so
much.
they've hacked that, so it now plays PSP games. So
Good.
just yeah,
Does it play Vita games?
not yet.
That
We
actually
we
makes it
still hope.
way more valuable to me. I actually that is the most that is the best thing. That's the best reason I can think of to buy that thing right now. Um,
But also, I'm pretty sure you bought your console for 500. Like I'm pretty sure I bought mine was 500 as well. So
well
currently
then,
PlayStation 5s are going for 500.
well then, I had to pay you $100 for shipping and handling. Then I guess
I'll double check because,
I'm pretty
but
sure I'm pretty sure that's
oh
600.
well,
How much I sent
okay,
you?
well I forget. At one point they did drop the price in the U.S., but they also raised the price overseas. So
Yeah,
you know,
protecting us,
and
U.S.
yeah,
customers. Suck it,
well, we are
Europe.
the favored market, right? So
Suck it, Europe. I don't think they did. They raise it in Japan too.
yes, but also I've heard that they've been dropping prices in Europe as well. So it's one of those things that we raised it and dropped it, so now it's like back to the way it was. So
Yeah,
it's like way to
it's
it's scam the system, right?
still like a couple
So
euro, a couple pounds higher than it was probably at launch, but they don't need to be playing video games over there anyway. Um,
yeah, 825. It was 825
Gigabytes.
for the original gig space.
Okay.
So when they made the new variants that came out, uh so the newer models are now 1 terabyte.
A full terabyte.
So the
Okay.
so even though ours is currently 825, then with OS and stuff, it's like 700 or like
Yeah.
600 something, available free space. So
Jeez, it's so
do
weird.
yourself a favor, buy a 2 terabyte. Uh, it's like $120 or something like that. Maybe 150 at most. Totally worth it. It's like
Yeah, that's
makes
what
a
I
huge
would like to
difference.
see from a Pro is like a full terabyte standard model, but a second terabyte for whatever, where I don't have to install anything or where it comes with it. It's like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and ship this with it, save you $5, $10 or whatever. That would be pretty cool. I kind of doubt that that's gonna happen, but anyway, so yeah, I'm thinking Christmas 25 would be a PS5 Pro because I don't really feel like the PS5 is. I mean, I don't play that many games on it, but I don't really feel like it's really sagging or dragging on any type of game yet. I mean, I'm not really having like hitching or really bad issues or anything like that. I'm playing 4K 60, not 120 or whatever. So maybe people who are looking for that from it. I don't know why you're looking for more than 60 FPS on a console, but I don't feel like it needs a 24 release for a Pro. That just seems kind of silly.
Yeah, I honestly think that it'll be 2025, probably fall, September,
Yeah.
something like that. And you're looking at but the reason why you do it is for increased memory storage, and also with that middle bump in order to make things run smoother. You're talking about more ray tracing features, having if probably something equivalent to the PS4 Pro, where it happened to do PSVR better.
Yeah.
I can see them having a smoother run on that. I mean, it already runs PSVR 2 really well. I have not had any problems, but once again, games and stuff are only going to get more complex and more, it's like, so why not give yourself a little extra headroom to, to make things better.
Yeah, and it might set up
That's the whole
nicely
point of it.
for like a later PS VR 3 release, in several years, but it would be like, okay, we're already ready for that to run on a PS5 Pro, you know.
That I'm not 100% sure on.
Hey,
We'll
only
see
time
how
will
much they
tell.
support the PS, VR2. So you should most definitely join the group and purchase one. So, that should be your next big purchase.
I'll get
I
right
mean,
on that.
you can play you can play in the flat screen mode in the VR at 120 hertz. So just, it's 4K. Good for, go for it, man.
Yeah,
It's a
right
really good
on it.
experience.
I'm gonna be doing it. I'll do it
Uh,
tomorrow.
all right, cool. Hold you to it. All right. So what
So,
else we got on the news?
tomorrow never dies though. So from last little bit of news is From Software gains Elden Ring trademark, and so previously Bandai Namco, which I guess kind of owns From Software, sort of. Anyway, Bandai Namco actually owned the Elden Ring trademark. So From Software buying that trademark, to me, that means that they probably plan to do some stuff with it. That means they want to make more money off of Elden Ring, um, probably by like comic books or manga, anime, movies, something like that. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I didn't play that much Elden Ring, but I did play a little bit of it, and I can see how there are some different things that you could do with it. Um, just real quick, so From Software is owned by Kadokawa, um, and mostly, and then Sony and Tencent own quite a bit of shares of it as well, and then but also Kadokawa plans to sell some of its shares, more of its shares to Sony and Tencent. So anyway, that was a note that I had here that kind of clears up the Bandai Namco thing. Anyway, so anyway, my question to you, Joe, is what do you think Elden Ring would work best as outside of a video game, um, like a manga, anime, or what? How do you think that From Software might make more money off of Elden Ring?
I mean, in Japan, the anime would be the most obvious answer. I would say, coming from you know, the George R. R. Martin aspect, you can just make it into a, HBO like series or whatever.
Mm,
So make it into a mini series. You have the budgets, and you know, uh, you have, make it a mini series. I think it'd be the best route for that. The reason why, the only thing I can think of about the Bandai Namco thing is because they published it. I mean, From Software developed the game.
yeah,
Bandai Namco is the publisher.
right.
So, um, but yeah, I think they did just announce the new DLC for it as well. So that's coming out next month, I believe. I
The
never finished
trailer.
the game. I watched the trailer. It looked awesome, but at the same time, it actually looks really good. It looked better than the original game, in my opinion. But at the
Should
same time, I'm lost. I have no idea. I'm not gonna play it because I never made it that far. I made it really far. I didn't uh in that game, but I also at one point just started streamlining the main story. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a substantial amount of DLC. They showed a lot of decent boss battles, which they usually don't. So that means there's probably a whole lot more that you haven't seen. And they do a good job making it look awesomely horrific. So yeah, some good nightmare fuel.
yeah,
Especially with my kids, I'm never gonna be able to play it. So
yeah.
not until they're older, or if I really want to like scar them and be like, this is what's under your bed. So watch out.
Yeah, I think probably an anime is most likely, and then from that, like a manga and other stuff. But I just don't know what the anime would really be about. I feel like it'd be a lot like a Goblin Slayer or whatever, where the protagonist is kind of hidden behind a mask the whole time. Um, because like there's not like it's not like you're not really playing a role. Like you're not really like Cloud, in Final Fantasy VII or or whatever. You're just sort of some nameless dude or chick, you know. So I just I think it'd probably work best as an anime, but they're gonna have to expound a lot more on the like the protagonist side. Though everything else is ready, you know, like the lore is awesome and the world is awesome, and the enemies and all that stuff. There's definitely a lot there, but also like anime is kind of silly. Even like serious anime these days is pretty dang silly in its own way. And I just wonder how they would really tackle that because I don't feel like Elden Ring would work as something silly, you know?
Well, all right. So my bad on the Shadow of the Erd Tree is actually coming out in June.
Okay.
So I
I
got
thought it
I got the
was
dates mixed up with something else.
that was
So,
earlier.
but it's relatively close.
Yeah.
Um, and then we're looking at, I mean, if they do an anime, so long as they don't do it like Dragon's Dogma, we'll be fine. Because Dragon Dogma was really disappointing. Um, so yeah, I mean, once again, if you try to make it for the West, I would say some sort of paid channel services, and they'd be able to make the world building pretty well and real. But anime is the cheapest route for sure, and I honestly don't really care to consume any of that material outside the game, and I don't think the fans are clamoring for it, to be honest.
I
Uh,
mean, if it's
even
good, then it's, you know, I just want it to be
that's the
good.
Yeah, but that's the thing is all the story, like all the anything in game is all red text anyways. That's how they've always been. They don't want to give you a story. They want you to make you hunt for the said story. They want you to like scour wikis and
It's
other
true.
people's guides and connect the threads because it's all Kingsfield anyways. I mean, that's the thing. It's just, they're all connected. But they're not. That's I don't that they do a good job with the world building and the visuals. There's just too much item descriptions and too much string, putting string on corkboards to tie everything together and be like, this is the story. And I'm like, yeah, I wish you just told it to me in a simplistic form. And that might be the best version of an anime is just to make it that, just to kind of bare bones it. But I don't.
Then you can
But then
string
if they
people
do that,
along even longer, and
yeah.
you can just do it like Yoko Taro style, where nothing actually makes any sense, but people spend all their time trying to figure out how to make it make sense.
Well, once you connect the books and then the orchestral shorts and the plays, yeah, it all
Yes.
makes sense eventually.
Now you're understanding.
More to talk about that later, but all right, yeah. Anyways, Elden Ring, the new DLC is coming out, and the whole news about the getting their trademark back. Good for them. I'm not really, but I'm more excited to see about what's coming out from them. You know, outside of this. I still haven't played the Armored Core
Rubicon,
game.
Fires of
Yeah,
Rubicon.
so I'm really interested in that. Though a lot of people, it's very different as far as level structure goes.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things about the new DLC as well for this Elden Ring was they're like having a lot of these Sekiro action vibes. So
Okay.
they show some martial arts, they show some different weaponry. So that's some of the stuff. Like I said, it's a really good looking trailer. It almost makes me want to get back into the game, but I'm not.
I do want to get back into the game, but I own it on PC and played like 30 hours or whatever of it a long time ago. I'd rather it's like Final Fantasy VII remake. Um, and also near. I just have to, if and when I play these games again, I have to buy them on PlayStation and start playing more of them over there because that's the only place where I care about my trophies and I want, and those are games that I kind of care about. So, if and when I do get back to them, I just have to start over anyway, and so I may as well start over on PlayStation. But that costs money. It's too much, Joe. It's too much.
Okay. Well, talking about near, let's roll into what we've been playing.
Um,
All right. So as I've mentioned the last three ish, four podcasts now. I think this is like three or four. But anyways, I'm still playing through Near Replicant. I'm like this close to the end. I'm just so close. I've ended the game four times now. So I am currently on my ending E run. I've gotten all but two trophies left. I believe no three. There's three trophies left, not including the platinum. There's beating the E run. There's one trophy tied to the E itself, and then there's the speed run of the game where you have to beat it within 15 hours, which is totally doable now that I know the game.
Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
it's very doable. I think you can do it on your first playthrough. I did not because I did all the tedious and monotonous things right off the bat, which and then if yeah, so honestly, it's I the game's not that hard, and but I've been playing the whole thing on normal, most of it on normal, and then normal or hard because it's supposed to help your drop rates, and I've wasted 70 hours I think in this game. I haven't played a game this long, but granted,
Wow.
playing the game is a stretch. A lot of it's grinding. I haven't hated grinding in a game so much since Bloodstain. Bloodstain was one of the worst games I've ever played when it had for grinding.
But you
If you
like
wanted
that
the
game,
100%,
right?
I like the game for what it is. I hated it for its trophies and
For trying
grinding.
to get the, okay, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the game was solid. I did not like it as much as others, but if you want something close to Symphony of the Night or something like that, a good Castlevania game, it is a solid one of them, hands down. Fun time. But if you're trying to 100% it because you're sick in the head like I am, it's a bad time. And like my RNG was so bad in that game. So this one I've been doing a lot of remote play for my grinding, so I just play on my phone with the controller while I'm doing something else, or I'm listening to a podcast. I'm doing other things more or less, and it's just mindless is the best way to put it. And there's a lot of mindless trophies in this game,
Yeah, it is an old
and
style game that way.
but as far as playing through the routes, super easy. I mean, I'm like I said once again, I'm playing just on normal. It's not that, and honestly, it's just not that difficult. And if you really want to, you can dumb it down to easy and then have it auto battle. I haven't tried that yet, but
Hmm.
uh, I'm kind of curious about it because I might do it for my my last run. Though I'll be overly, um, I'm already at like the recommended level. This is not a spoiler; it's kind of a hint in the beginning of the game. Is when you play the prologue the character player you play as levels to 30. That's a hint to to you as a player. Maybe you should be at level 30 by the end of the game. Um, and by the time the first time I was there, I was already at like level 35, and now I'm at level like 50 something.
Wow.
So it's honestly, like I said, playing it on normal is really easy.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, if I dumb it down and then just do auto battle, I should be able to breeze through that thing no problem. Yeah, I have maybe through this E route. Um, I'm about there's a certain point where it's the game E route switches, so
Okay.
the story will switch, and I'm right before that story switching. Right now, it's exactly the same as you would expect it to be. I mean, without too much spoilers. I know you've only gone through route A and B.
I know the end
Um,
though. I
so
mean,
I mean, there's a few extra things to add and see.
yeah.
The best part is some shades have spoken dialogue now, so you understand it better.
Yeah.
So that's worth some of the cutscenes. Um, but yeah, it's I've really enjoyed my time with the game. It's been as far as the story goes, it's been a neat dive into the lore. I've enjoyed my time with it, but I am most definitely done. I don't know if I'm gonna have this dedication to Nier Automata, but I will be playing that.
Well, Nier
Uh,
Automata is a bit. I mean, it should be a little bit easier to do these kind of things in Nier Automata. Um, so there's also you can just buy the platinum trophy
I
in Nier.
forgot about that. I
So
remember them having that that joke of an option.
just
Yeah, it's
like
pretty awesome.
so, I don't know what that actually gets you. I don't know if it shows up different. You may not want to do it until you may not want to do that, depending on how it actually shows up in your system. But I know that is a thing in Nier Automata. So you might be able to just get through as much Nier Automata as you want, and then buy that platinum trophy just outright and just say F it.
Well, I wonder if you have to buy everything else before the like you can buy the platinum maybe. But
You
anyways,
can buy it
the
though. Like it's you don't have to do
yeah.
anything besides just freaking and buy in game. You have too much money and stuff anyway. So
So yeah, what I no, as far as this one goes though, it's been super great and just knowing the game inside and out at this point. And it's one of those it's well granted to say I didn't do 4 complete runs because after ending the third ending, you save beforehand, and then you just make a different decision at the end. So you just reload that, and then you can make the different decision for the fourth ending.
okay,
So that is a far less grueling experience. I mean, um,
yeah.
yeah, like I said, I'm currently going through my final run, so I will be glad to be done with that. Um, yeah. So what about you? What have you been playing, man?
So I think that I'm done with Alan Wake 2. I was playing it on nightmare mode, and I'm in a part where I think I'm just about stuck. There's one of the loopy parts, and I don't have a lot of ammo. And I'm in this really narrow spot where you don't have really any place to explore. Essentially,
Are you fighting? Are you fighting the two guys?
not even there yet, but I'm very close to that. So right before that, I'm in that loop area, and I go down, and there's nothing to get except for a little bit more pistol ammo, and I have some canisters that I can blow up, and I have to fight two or three. I think I have to fight three actually. Three, I guess lower than boss level guys.
So just regular shades that's by the well, right?
Yeah,
So there is at least a there's at least one or two boxes nearby,
not in
and
that
then I
area.
do
Not.
and
I'm
I
looking everywhere, and I can't. I can only find. Can only find a little bit of extra pistol ammo. I think it's enough, and I'll look. I'll look some more, but I've looked everywhere, and I can't find anything more that I can go get. But I think it might be enough. It's just like it's one of those things where it's like I think that this is enough to kill what I need to kill, but it's going to be really annoying to hit the headshots, hit the explosion just right. And I'm just kind I'm just kind of tired of playing through it. I think I'm just going to look up what happens in the final draft because I've already played this game once and there's a lot of other stuff to play. So
yeah, because I remember that being not terribly difficult, but I came in like knowing that area pretty well. The Like I said, I do know for the actual boss battle there are multiple ammo spots around that's the
yeah,
area,
yeah, I'll definitely
which
need
is right there
that.
by the well. So I know that for a fact that there is. You just have to make sure to search, like listen for the shots and be able to just dodge when you're ready for like
Yeah.
the rifle shot or something like that.
Yeah, but this is before that, and
Yeah,
it's just
and I know
yeah,
there's one on a bench. There's one guaranteed on a bench prior to in one of those routes, and then there's like I said, I want to say there is another one, but
yeah.
I'd have to look at it. So the other thing is, if you really wanted to get through it and you wanted me to check, you can remote play it to me, and then you can watch me like pass the controller essentially to me, and I
I
can take a
wouldn't
look just to see.
I wouldn't do that.
I mean,
That's
it's like the old. I would say if it was a normal game, normal playthrough, I'd say just drop the hard difficulty. But if you're trying to go for the nightmare, then yeah, obviously,
yeah.
don't you can't drop it.
I was trying to finish it on
Do you have
Nightmare.
any other saves then? Do you have a save beforehand? Because you can probably there's probably some spots where you can collect ammo and stuff like that, or some
Yeah,
you
maybe
know,
I should try to
lock
go back to
boxes.
an earlier save. I think I do have maybe one. I don't know how far back it is, but yeah. So anyway, it's I started playing through it a little bit more, and I just don't know why I'm playing it. At some point, it's just kind of
Well, I mean, when you get out of when especially a game like this, when you get out of the momentum of it and you start losing some some of your muscle memory, it becomes that much harder. And then it's just,
Yeah.
especially then if you get stuck, it takes the wind out of your sails, and you're just like, yeah, it
Well,
just becomes more of a
I'm just
chore
like,
than
I'm just
a
like,
passion.
I mean, it's fun. Like that stuff is mostly fine. It's yeah, it does become kind of a chore. It's just kind of like, why am I playing this when I haven't finished these other games? You know, it's just like there's so much other stuff that I have that I really want to play. Why am I replaying something that, you know, is not that?
Because it's better than the other things you've been playing.
Yeah, but I have also been playing
Like,
Tears of the Kingdom, and Tears of the Kingdom is really, really, really good. And anyway, so I played that like a little bit more. The game's just so good for just jumping in, doing a couple things, and then bouncing. So I just got into that a little bit. Got some of the muscle memory, like you were talking about, back. Um, and yeah, that game. Like I always go left at the beginning when they want you to go right. Because I've beaten like all four of the spirit whatevers, the ones you like the main bosses you have to beat at the beginning or whatever, and I didn't have any of the great fairies unlocked, and it's because I went the wrong direction, and I don't know why Nintendo does that, because everything I went west, and all the great fairies, or at least the easier low level hanging fruit of the great fairies, is to the east. And anyway, so but I'm kind of cleaning that stuff up now, and it is kind of nice that I've done so much, because I can clean up a lot of other stuff. But it's hard to know the right way to play those games. Anyway, playing that a little bit. And then I also jumped back into Magic Arena a little bit. I had the hankering to play some Magic the other day. I'm way out of practice with
that's what I'm talking about. This is where you'd be like, you can be playing Alan Wake instead, and that's Magic is
yeah.
the wrong answer. I will always Magic is a bad addiction. Step away.
So
Yeah,
anyway, Magic Arena, I started playing that again, and that was also a chore to get back into, because all of my old decks are completely they're not even legal anymore. And so I think I found an easy way to finally delete them, because I had like 50 decks or something like that, and I just was like, I just want to delete all these because they're not playable. So it was. I think I ended up finding an easier way to delete them, but it took a while to figure that out. So I created just a white deck and just put some stuff together, and still get my butt kicked constantly, even more than the old days. But it's kind of fun. Magic Arena is pretty fun to play. Just kind of jumping back into. I need to stay in it, more often, sporadically, so I don't get to that point again. But it's just very easy to just play like just a couple games and just be like, all right, that's cool, and then bounce out of there. But yeah,
see, that's the thing is you don't do that with Magic. You tell yourself, yeah, well, it's only gonna be a little bit, and then next thing you know, you're spending way too much free time on that. At
but
least that's
see,
been always been my experience with Magic. And then next thing you know, like I could have been doing this time. Like in the end, you're like, it was fun, but at the same time, I have nothing personally to show from it. And it just you might as well, like, it's like playing solitaire on your phone or something like that. It's like in the end, it just passes the time, and you really don't have much in the end. That's why it's just like
I
I'm
mean,
a you know
so like Magic, I did a deep dive on Magic back in like 2020, 2019, 2020. I played a lot of Magic Arena, and I made it to like gold, so I was playing a lot. But it gets to where it's like, oh, like even when new cards come out, you're like, oh, I've seen these before. Like they're slightly different, but really they've been kind of redoing Magic cards for a long time, and the mechanics of the new stuff is really not all that wild and different. So to me, it is something that I can jump into. Okay, what are they doing now? It's like this and like that. All right, cool. That was fun, and then I'm out. And then I'm out again. So it doesn't really suck me in as much as it does other people because I just see the seams, I just see the stitching of the game, and I'm like, all right, now I've done it, and now I can put it off for a few months or a year, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. But anyway, so that's what I've been playing, and I'll just see what happens. The next game I'm excited for, I'd like to play Helldivers 2 with you as soon as as soon as they get enough, or they can make it to where enough people can play at the same time.
Yep,
But
they're victims of their own success. I mean,
yeah,
it's a terrible spot to be in, I guess.
but
Uh,
anyway, I'm not in any hurry to play that exactly. So that's probably going to be sometime in March maybe. But then it's like the next game I'm kind of looking forward to that would be new would be Stellar Blade, but I'm still pretty tentative about that. It looks good, but it also looks too good to be good. Does that make sense? So,
Once again, I think so long as the combat's just competent, and like the story's halfway decent, I think it'll be worth the time, at least a bit of time, because of how good it looks. I'm hopeful actually.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I can see that being that there's not too many games coming out that I'm really excited for. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily excited for it, but at the same time, I hopeful. Like I said, just
Yeah.
it may be a pleasant surprise. Um, no,
Anyway.
right. So for me, uh, since you've been wasting your time with Magic, I've wasted my time with It Takes Two.
Hmm.
Um, that game that was supposed to be so damn good and everyone's gushed over it. Um, I really think Jeff Keighley has some like secret agenda, or it's like he's either being blackmailed or blackmailing the developer of It Takes Two, because it seems like all their games, like whether it be Tale Two Sons, um oh, is it A Way Out? This like there seems to be some sort of like gushing agenda where like these games are like everyone seems to like these games way more than they actually are. Like they're good games, but they're not nowhere near as great as everyone makes like all the people make it out to be. Uh,
I mean, the 2 hours that I played that game with you, like a year and a half or whatever ago, I was like, this one game of the year, like, this is the game that everyone's talking about. I was like, this is fine, but it's not game of the year good. I don't know what else it beat. It must have been, I think it was just a terribly weak year. It had to be just a terribly weak year. And they were just like, well, all these other games are really not that amazing. So we're just going to like get some good PR here and give it to this indie-esque game that was also made by EA. So I don't really know how that worked, but whatever. I don't know.
um, yeah, it's so this once again, it's just like I feel that um this all right, the game as a whole is a solid game. Uh, the fault comes in like the fact that it pads out the extra time. Like your whole agenda, you make it through different zones. There's new mechanics to each area. Like that's all fine. That's fun. Um, it's a very enjoyable play. You can mess around and you finally achieve your end goal, and then that's when they pull out the rug and you're like, and wait, we're just gonna make this arbitrarily 4 levels longer than it needs to be,
Hmm.
and within those levels we're going to actually stretch out those levels so like they give everything's really linear up until that point, like just you have some minor small spots where you can run around, but everything else is just going down the corridor, point A to point B, maybe a hidden thing over here or there. But then when you get to a certain point, they're like, well, now you got to get these 4 scraps of paper, um, and now you have this like actual open, like little mini open map where you have like a little model town or something like that you can explore. I'm like, that's actually really neat. I wish you had this in the beginning and not at the very end where I'm already like, I'm done with this. I want this to be over. But like, this is a neat thing. Let me see. Okay, there's not a lot to really do, but there are some fun little knickknacks. And then you realize you have to do this for each scrap of paper. And also halfway through, sometimes they're like, and we're just going to pad this out even longer. We're going to be like, you need to, to get the scrap of paper, you need to collect these items. You collected these items. Well, now you got to collect these other items. Well, then you collect those items. Now you got to collect these other things. And you're like, for the love of anything, just make it stop. And why I played this was just because a buddy of mine, we end up playing multiplayer games, and we went through uh, A Way Out together, which honestly was a far better game as far as just overall story and gameplay.
Yeah.
Like it really was. Um, I we like the whole concept of It Takes Two, divorced parents arguing with each other. I'm like, yeah, they're terrible people. And I want them to be divorced. I am rooting for divorce. I'm like, just be done with it. Like it takes two. You know what it takes two? It takes two to sign the divorce papers. That's what it does.
Mm,
Um,
that's a
and
good joke.
I
That's
absolutely hate that game. It's once again, it's like it isn't bad, but I don't know how people thought this was like a game of the year contender. It just boggles my mind. But then again, everyone gushed over Brother Tale Two Sons, and
that
I
didn't
thought that
win Game
game
of the
was
Year though, did it?
no, but I don't know if it won Game of the Year, but it
It's probably on some lists. Yeah.
people really held up. Well, that's the thing is we're like, well, this is an indie game. It has a I think it might have won. I don't know. I know it won some award because the director, he that was for brother. I think it was Brother Tale Two Sons. He ends up with Keeley Awards or whatever. He gave a speech, and it was something stupid like, it's better than the Oscars or fuck the Oscars or something like that.
Mm,
I'm forgetting the quote exactly, but yeah, he made an ass of himself. Um, and then the following year he presented an award, and he made a joke about himself, kind of. Uh, yeah, and they actually, what they do is there's a hidden Easter egg where you can, like, you're finding your satellite dish and you're looking at the stars, and then you can hear that radio transmission of his acceptance speech for A Brother Tale Two Sons. And I'm like, so we listened to it, and like I completely forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. There was an incident like that, and so they at least poke fun of himself, as it were.
yeah.
But once again, I don't know what kind of backroom deal he does with Jeff Keighley, but there is no way this game deserved to win. Um, I think it's a sham. It really was a letdown. So that was my like earnest opinion on this, because it's like it's a good game as far as just gameplay goes and playing with two players, but it's way too long. The story's not that great. Um, and I do think the ending was okay. Like it wasn't good, but it was just okay. I was expecting them to do something else, and they at least ended it with an all right way.
It has a 10 out
You
of
know,
10 rating on Steam. Like what the heck? I guess
yeah,
I
and
guess fun is not one of the criteria.
well, it what it is I think it's people who, it's like, I am 14 and this is deep.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, I think honestly that's what it is. It's like, oh man, no one's ever talked about this. Like, it's kind of like when in the beginning you had a game, certain games like Celeste and a few others, where it's like, oh wow, this game is talking about themes of depression and like having like a dark side and stuff. I'm like, in the beginning, those were novel because it was very rare, and then it started becoming a common occurrence, and you're like, okay, I understand this is the developer or whomever telling their own story about overcoming this and that. I'm like, that's fine, you're allowed to do that, but it's also no longer this big thing. Like, but honestly, this, like, I don't know, it's literally about a couple who hate each other and they're being forced to work together through an extreme circumstance, and also like to talk to each other. It's like, wow, maybe if two people who hate each other had to work together to maybe survive on a desert island, guess what? Maybe they'd get closer and bond a little bit and work together. Maybe, it's kind of something similar, like being forced through extreme circumstances. Like, maybe they'd be better. And like, the other thing is the book, the Dr. Hasim wrote over book was like, love conquers all, or something like that is the biggest load of crap, and that is a very negative thing to say to people in real life, because then people just think, oh, I just need to find my person that I love and everything will be better. This will fix it. We just need to like no, you don't just it's not about love. It is, but it's about communication. It's about working together. Yes, they try to talk about communication in it. They don't do a very good job of it. And it's also it's like, but they don't really work things out. They're like, we're going to give you these extreme circumstance to remind you of the reasons why you got together, but not actually. It's like it doesn't fix the problem. We're addressing said problem. We're not fixing it. And like I said, to just blatantly say love, like the whole concept of love conquers all, um, is a load of crap. I
Yeah.
mean, it is the wrong mindset to have for real adults and real people because just because you find like that's why people jump from one relationship to another thinking I just have to find the right person that I love that will love me and like and once we're in love, boom, everything's going to be all right. No. Your financial troubles and what got you there are still going to be there or your bad habits are still there if you don't fix them. And so yeah, I this game just made me irate and the fact that people think that this is a good game as far as on that level and as an adult. No, I mean I would be glad to talk about this and have someone convince me otherwise. I am open to discussion. So go ahead, suffer through this game, Nick. I want you to come back and tell me that I'm wrong.
I mean, it was a
But yeah,
pretty weak year. Like Deathloop, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village were the other nominations. And maybe there's some games that they got snubbed, but like to me, Metroid Dread is almost certainly better than It Takes Two. Um, Maybe it's not as unique. I don't know. I didn't really think anything that I saw in the 2 hours of It Takes Two was really all that unique. Um, so there goes that argument. Maybe like Resident Evil Village. I didn't play very many of these other games, but Deathloop would probably be a better candidate for Game of the Year. I wouldn't really care for that, but at least it was sort of a unique idea. I don't know. It just seemed silly to me. But anyway, so you played that, and then
New Replicant came out that same year. The remake.
that
The
might be better.
Guardians of the Galaxy was a better game. I
Yeah,
mean, it literally like that story was actually a better story. The gameplay was more enjoyable. I mean, uh, I don't know. It's one of those things that yeah, like I said, I believe I mean Returnal was that year.
yeah.
It's like at least that's more novel as gameplay. But yeah, once again, it's one of those Academy Award things, right? You go for the artsy thing, that tugs at the kind of heartstrings ish. You don't necessarily go with the big blockbusters because that seems it's like paid advertisement. And also, once again, I really think that there's some sort of he's my buddy cahoots kind of or like
It is a political. There is a political thing going on there
so
with the
I'm
Oscars.
I'm
So
just
there's
I'm going to
probably
call that
certainly.
out there right now because once again I believe that
Yeah.
though the team does a very good job of making games, I think once it's just like people gush over something that's not a like they raise it at a higher level than it deserves to be because it really, in my opinion, just doesn't. Once again, I would like to be proven wrong, and I'm willing to listen. I'm just yeah, I'm just severely disappointed, and this like if it ended where it should have and didn't extend that extra little crap at the end, and also if they had those cool levels at the end earlier on, I think that would have changed my mind immensely. But by the time like even my buddy who is way more optimistic than I am, way more like just like could not get this game done fast enough. We were committed at that point,
Hmm.
and we were just like for the love of anything, just be done. So yes. I've wasted my time with It Takes Two.
All right. What else you played?
Uh, the last thing, I did just a little bit of Palworld. Since my buddy and I finished It Takes Two, we moved to Palworld. Uh, Better gameplay, but and equally bad story. Uh, it doesn't have a story, and so yeah. No, it's I can see why people like Palworld. I I'm not a big fan of survival games. I mean, I like the whole like miniature like these like concepts, and I just have a hard time with uh, give me a story and then let me grind. Much like Near, I'd rather be grinding for a point of a story, but instead of I feel like I'm just grinding for the sake of nothing.
Yeah.
Um, I'd rather be playing Diablo, which has a very thin, like Diablo 3 had a very thin story. Diablo 4 was much better from what I played of it. Borderlands. I would rather grind for better weapons in Borderlands because that has at least a story that you can connect everything through. Palworld doesn't really have a story. It is better to play with a friend, uh, but at the same time, we also had server issues. We both had the current versions of the game, and it took us quite a bit to get connected. It was saying that we needed to update our firmware. We are on the same. We literally just downloaded it the day before. Um, it was kind of a pain in the butt just to get up and running. And in the end, I'm like, I personally, it's not for me. But then again, once again, like I wanted to try it to see what it was about, and it has a lot of charm. I can most definitely see why people like it. If it had an actual like mainline real story, I think it'd be great. Uh, but it doesn't. But without any real drive, other than just to explore sake, I don't have any real motivation in this. So, but
That's true.
most definitely, it's fun to see the tech tree. It's fun to level up, and it's trying to get better. Uh, but I want something more from this game. So yeah, probably future releases. But once again, most survival games, it's survival. That's the game, and I'm like,
Yeah,
So
that's too bad.
all right. So what have you been watching, sir?
I watched a Netflix anime movie called Maboroshi, made by Mappa, same guys that do Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. Maboroshi means phantom in Japanese. Um, this movie is E.T., but E.T. meets Spirited Away, I guess, would probably be the most derivative way to put it. The animation is very nice. It's very clean, very smooth, very Mappa-esque. It's just very, very nice. The story is all right. The the characters are pretty good. Really, the characters are actually probably the best part. Um, the script though has some issues, and like the difference between story and script in this case, kind of what I mean is like the overall idea of what happens is the story, and the script is like how that's conveyed. And I think that they go for some they go for things to be more emotional than like interesting. And I don't know if that's like a budget issue or what, but that was kind of one thing where it sort of felt sort of weird. Like there's things just sort of happen in the wrong way to me. It still would end up the same result. They just sort of happen in the wrong way. So basically, this movie is about this town where there's this big steel mill, and it's what supports the town. And the main character is this boy in like late middle school, early high school, and he's kind of depressed, and he has a bunch of friends, and they're all sort of weird like that. They're all sort of not really happy, and he discovers this girl who's like 8 or 9, definitely younger than him, and she can barely speak she can make words, but she just doesn't speak very well. She speaks like a toddler kind of. And so the plot centers on basically on her and why she's like that, and why she's being so he discovers her in an abandoned part of the steel mill, um, and she's basically being kept there. And then the rest of the movie is like why that is, and what it means, and the rest of the stuff that's going on. So it was not bad. It's not a bad movie, but it could have definitely been more interesting, I think. So if you
Your
wanted to,
enthusiasm says it all.
yeah, it was like, you start watching and you're like, man, this looks really good. And some of this stuff is pretty interesting and it's not stupid. Sometimes you turn on an anime and you're like, okay, for better or worse, not that stupid is a bad thing, but you start watching an anime and you're like, okay, this is stupid. And then you make a decision from that point. But this was not stupid. It just, I just was like, I would have rearranged that to be this. I would have rearranged this to be that. And it would have been a little bit more interesting moment to moment. But so I think you could miss it if you wanted to. But if you wanted to watch it, you could also probably watch worse stuff too. So yeah, that's pretty much long and short of it. I've watched some other stuff, but that's all I'm going to talk about right now.
Okay. Well, what I think you shouldn't miss is actually what I've been watching. I came across it a little late, but it's the all right, big long title here. Um, Seventh time loop. The villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy. So this is one of the uh so this isn't an isekai, surprisingly. This isn't a Otome game, surprisingly, but it is the it starts off with the concept of main female heroine being rejected by, so this is a like a period, like supposed to be uh lords and ladies, period piece kind of thing. uh it's a fantasy world,
So like
and she's being
Victorian or medieval.
um Victorian is what I'd go with more. Tutors, essentially something along those lines, but with magic, and monsters, presumably. The idea of this is she's being rejected by the prince because she's betrothed for accusations of blah 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 blah. It's very much a common trope at this point. And then she instantly is like, "Sure, got it. I'm out." And he's just dumbfounded. He's just like expecting an But then you come to quickly realize in episode one, uh, she has she has lived her life. She's on her seventh playthrough essentially. Um, so she's lived six different past lives, and she makes it to a certain point, and then she dies, and then comes back to that reset spot. And so she's lived her life very differently each time. Um, and this She has a very unique personality because of it. Um, and I find the concept charming and endearing because like the way she plays her character. um she's once again, this is all episode one stuff, so I'm not really a spoiler for anything. uh but essentially you see her being killed by someone in the very beginning, just the very opening act, and she is as a knight. And then that's when she goes back to the loop. You then realize that the first time she had gone through her life, when she was rejected, she found a merchant troupe. So she's kind of working as a caravan, merchant. Then she came back as um, I believe she was an herbalist the second time around. Then she was more of a scholar slash doctor the third time. The fourth time, I believe the fourth time was, shoot, I'm gonna forget now. I know she was a maid, and then she was a knight, and there's one that I'm just blanking on right now, apparently. So, and so on her, this is her seventh run, and she happens to run into. So on her sixth run, she was the knight, and she was murdered. Uh, by a king of, or the emperor of a different kingdom, who was invading during a war. And then she happens to run into him at said party where she just got denounced, and she catches his eye. So therefore, once he finds out she's been uh, the marriage has been annulled, he then proposes to marry her. And So that's kind of what happens. So she kind of is taken to his empire, and uh, the story takes place from there. It's neat. She utilizes her past knowledge for other things. She's trying to. She's a capable person, and that's what's really nice about this. She is she straight up knows that because she has herbalist knowledge and medical knowledge, she can she uses that to her benefit. She has the swordsmanship training from being a knight, so she has combat capabilities, but she also doesn't have the she admits that she doesn't have necessarily the physical stamina that she currently needs, because her mind knows everything, but her body isn't toned like it was before.
Oh, so
um
she's got to rebuild that every
so
time.
yeah, so she's aware of that at least. And it's like it's a solid, it's a solid anime. And episode 6 has a really good fight scene. Like, it's just a little bit, but it's like the way it's animated, it's a crisp looking animation, and I'm really a fan of just how that played out. It's nothing too special, but it was quality. And so it's one of the anime that I'm enjoying most this season. And I've kind of come across this like late. I think I came across this around episode 5, and I've now watched this up to episode 7 currently. And I've watched it twice because I ended up showing my wife the whole thing and rewatching it with her, and she's enjoying it as well. Uh, so yeah, I recommend it. It's a solid watch. I'm having a good time. It's not like groundbreaking or like whatever, but it's a really solid watch. I'm not disappointed with it. Someone who I thought was super annoying, kind of annoying, but like was not as bad as I expected, and they kind of like they didn't drag it on too long, which I'm like, okay, thank goodness, because that's what I hate, is when you have an obnoxious character. Um, and yeah, so that's just it. I really do recommend watching it. I know I briefly spoiled episode 1, but go ahead and give it a watch. And I also forgot one of the professions, so I
Ruined.
highly recommend it.
You ruined
Yeah,
it.
right.
Ruined.
Yep. Um, then another one that just started coming out was an Adult Swim anime, or if you want to call it anime because it's Adult Swim. But anyways, it's Ninja Kamui, and there's 2 episodes currently. Uh, Ninja Kamui, the best way to explain this is John Wick, but ninjas. Um, So ninja dude trying to live his retired life, and other ninjas are secretly like living their secret lives, getting like they're getting murdered, and eventually, said group comes after his family. Um, so yeah, since I referred to as John Wick, you kind of know that bad things are going to happen, and now he's on the warpath. So that's the brief like synopsis. Animation quality is pretty solid. It kind of reminds me of that Adult Swim Christmas of like something like the Boondocks,
Uh, the
So it's
animation
like,
does look pretty cool. I mean, the screenshots I just looked up look pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it's I I think it's neat. It's kind of a I don't think it's going to be anything like super like groundbreaking, but at the same time, it's just refreshing to see like a slightly different art style. And uh I'm in it. If you want a simple action fueled like murder romp, then I think this might be it. So if you just want something with like just for the action's sake.
Action fueled murder romp. That sounds like an episode title to me.
All right, it's in the bag there. Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of like they did something similar a long time ago, or I'm not. I remember being on Adult Swim called Ninja Slayer, but Ninja Slayer was so goofy. But it's like they could be cousins.
Okay.
Yeah, because Ninja Slayer was like the most cheap like animation quality, but it was also super great because it was this like side story of a thing. It's like one step shy from having stick people,
Mm.
or like cutouts on popsicle sticks as they bob up and down. Um, but yeah, Ninja Slayer was just goofy, and it was just like it belongs in this wheelhouse of kind of entertainment. Um, but yeah, it's like I said, it's I'm enjoying it so far. Only episode 2, so granted, I'll probably end up watching all of it, to be honest, unless if it just turns really bad. Uh, but yeah, those are some of the new things I've recently watched. So
Awesome. Awesome.
all right, Well, if you made it to this far, well, we thank you. Hopefully, I didn't annoy people too much with my hate-filled rant of "It Takes Two," but some things just had to been said, and there has to be another opinion out there other than like 10 out of 10 on Steam.
Yeah, I don't think that I was
Um,
gonna say when you're ranting, I don't think that game's gonna age very well. I think that in 5 or 10 years, people are gonna be like, yeah, that game shouldn't have won Game of the Year. But anyway, that remains to be seen. But anyway, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, well, like I said, it is well, I played through it. It's one of those things that I've seemingly played everything that developers made. But A Way Out, not as bad as people made it sound. Honestly, like if you're gonna play
Yeah,
any
people
of those
pooped on
games,
that game, and you're like, no, that's the good one.
yeah, it's. I mean, granted, it's how do I say it? It's very much Heat. Like
The
the movie
movie.
Heat. Like, or they literally crib almost like certain parts verbatim off of other things like Shawshank. They just rip certain things straight out of Shawshank, and I'm like, okay, you could have at least tried to do like be original. I forgot. I think it was Alex Navarro from at the time, Giant Bomb. I think he said something like it was like a foreigner who got all their ideas from like crime and like all that stuff, heists from Hollywood movies. And I'm like, yeah, that totally checks out. Like if
Mm,
you don't have an original idea, but you just take a hodgepodge of everything you've learned from pop culture, and then you just regurgitate that to a certain extent. But at the same time, it was like I said, I played with my buddy and we had an all right enough time. It was fun enough.
yeah,
But this one, we couldn't wait for it to be done.
yeah.
So that was the difference.
So that's the way it
But
is
all right, this
sometimes.
has been another Dead Pixel, episode 64. And yeah, Nick, what words of wisdom do you have for everyone?
Um, Saint Patrick is the greater saint.
All right.
Okay,
And Nick is willing to take open fights
I'll
at any
fight.
given time.
I'll fight anyone that says otherwise.
All right. Well, thanks again. And until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.